Now sit me down right here. Well, hello, Betty. How are you doing today?
Just fine, Mr. Joseph.
I see you got a new nurse working with you today.
Yeah, this is Cindy. She's going to be helping me out today.
Now remember, it's just old Joseph. None of this Mr. Joseph business, okay? I ain't that old. Well, I ain't that old. I ain't as old as some of these old coots around here.
So how are you, Joseph?
Just Joseph. I'm fine. How about you? Thanks for asking.
Here's your medicine, Mr. Joseph.
Yeah. Never did like that stuff. But thank you anyway. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Little Goody, man. That's my best Elvis impersonation in years. And that's all I get with the Little Goody. There must be something wrong. Come
Well,
on.
we've had a very interesting morning.
Interesting. How so?
Well, we just heard an amazing story from Mr. Judah, then heard quite a troubling story from Mr. and Mrs. Potiphar, and we just left Mr. Frank's room where we heard the craziest story of all. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I bet you did hear a crazy story from Mr. Frank. And, yeah, I can see how some of those stories Miss Potiphar was telling might be troubling.
Okay. Tell me you didn't do it. Tell me you didn't attack Mrs. Potiphar all those years ago. Tell me it's not true.
I didn't attack no one. She's been telling that story for years. What got me into trouble. When in fact, it was her that tried to force me to have dinner with her.
No.
Yeah. But when I ran away from her, she grabbed the back of my sweater. I had to get me a new one. She kept it. But Mr. Potiphar wouldn't believe me. Even after I told him I was innocent.
That's terrible. So you went to prison for a crime you didn't commit?
Yep, sure enough. But God had a plan for me. He was watching over me even while I was in that prison.
Well, Mr. Frank said that you could interpret dreams. Is that story true?
Well, sort of. I can't interpret dreams, but all interpretations belong to God. God can interpret the dreams.
Your word is that way.
He just tells me what they mean.
He took my fruit cup.
I ain't got your fruit cup, yo, dude.
He ate my fruit cup. I had a fruit cup. It was on my tray. He came and he took my fruit cup.
I ain't got your fruit cup. Your fruit cup's with the baker.
He ate my fruit cup. Can I get another?
I'll get you another one.
Can I have some jello?
I'll get you
I want green jello.
green jello. Okay.
And a fruit cup.
Okay. Get back to your room and I'll bring you some green jello and fruit cup right after we finish up here.
Where's my room?
Right back this way.
What time is it?
It's 3 o'clock.
It's 3. It's 4:30 a minute ago. Like y'all know how to tell time. What time Walker Texas Ranger come on?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Yes.
And my fruit cup in.
You have your fruit cup. Well, how did you ever get out of prison, Mr. Joseph?
Yeah.
Don't take my fruit cup.
I'll get you. I promise.
Well, when I interpreted the chief cupbearer's dream, I asked him to remember me to Pharaoh, so that when he was restored to his position.
But Mr. Frank said he didn't. He said that he forgot all about you.
Yeah, that's right. Mr. Frank didn't remember much, but he forgot me. Well, for about 2 whole years. Then finally he remembered me, because Pharaoh had a dream that he couldn't understand.
Oh, really? What was it about?
Well, he was standing by the Nile. You know that river where all the water is?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was standing there, and there were 7 cows, sleek and fat, that came up out of the river. And they grazed along the reeds. After them, 7 other cows, ugly and gaunt, came up from the Nile and stood beside the river bank. Those ugly cows, they went over and ate up the 7 sleek fat cows. Then Pharaoh woke up.
Well, that just sounds disgusting. What could that possibly mean?
Well, that wasn't the end of it. There weren't none of Pharaoh's magicians nor wise men or all of Egypt that could tell him what it meant.
Oh, I see. That's when the cupbearer remembered that you could interpret dreams.
You're pretty smart.
Hey, they don't give this to just anybody.
Yeah, that's when Pharaoh sent for me, and I was taken out of the dungeon. I wasn't sure what was happening, but they gave me a shave, cleaned up my face, gave me some new clothes even, and I got to appear before Pharaoh, Pharaoh of all of Egypt.
So what did the dream mean?
You mean dreams?
Wait, dreams?
Yeah.
As in more than one?
More than one. He had 2 dreams. That was the confusing part. Well, at least it confused Pharaoh and his magicians.
Well, so what was the other dream about?
Well, his second dream, there were 7 heads of grain, healthy and good. They were growing on a single stalk, just like that. After them, 7 other heads of grain sprouted up, thin and scorched like the east wind. Them thin heads, they swallowed up the 7 healthy stalks.
That's even weirder than the first dream. How do stalks of grain swallow anything?
They can't. It's a metaphor. Thought you were smart.
Then what did the dreams mean?
Well, the only one who could understand that was God. And both them dreams was revealed by God.
So what was he revealing?
Well, the 7 good cows are 7 good years. The 7 good heads of grain are also 7 years. It's the same dream. The reason the dream was given twice in 2 different forms, because God really meant what he said. It was firmly decided, and it was going to happen soon.
You say so.
The ugly cows, them 7 lean, nasty things, were 7 years. And the 7 worthless heads of grain that were scorched by the east wind, they were 7 years too. They meant there were 7 years of famine.
Famine? Well, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah, it's when the cows are skinny and there ain't no grain to eat. Yeah, it's not a good thing. But God sent those dreams as a warning to Pharaoh that this was going to happen so that Pharaoh could prepare and get ready.
Well, that's good. At least there was a warning.
Not only that, but
Have my fruit cup now.
after the famine. After the famine.
Give us just a minute, and I'll be right there, okay? I promise.
Room 413.
Green
413 fruit cup.
I promise. Green jello.
Green jello.
Green jello. I promise.
Walker, Texas Rangers.
After the famine. Let me finish my story.
Go ahead.
Can I have a cherry in my fruit cup?
Well, there was a warning. But the first 7 years were to be years of great abundance. Big fat cows and all kinds of grain. But the 7 bad years were to follow. And that extended all the abundance of Egypt. The past 7 years would be forgotten. The famine would ravage the land and everybody would forget about how good the previous 7 years were.
Well, so what did Pharaoh and all of Egypt do?
Well, I told them what they should do. They should collect all the extra food those first 7 years and store up the grain so that it could be held in reserve and given out during the famine.
Well, that seems smart.
Well, God told me what to tell them. All I did was listen. And Pharaoh thought it was smart too. So he put me in charge.
In charge? In charge of what?
Well, his palace, everything, all the people. He decreed that everybody except himself was to submit to me and my orders.
Wow. That sounds like a big job to take on.
And I told you, God was watching over me and guiding me, so that through Him, I was able to succeed.
Wow, what an amazing story.
And if you like that one, you would love the ones about my family. They sold me into slavery, you know.
No way.
Well, how do you think I ended up going to prison?
How could they do that?
They were jealous, but I ended up ruling over them just like I dreamed I would.
Really? How so?
Well, that's a dream. What are we talking about?
Mr. Joseph,
That's a story for another day. That's what we're talking. Yeah,
that
this
medicine makes
medicine's
you.
starting to make me
Yeah,
sleepy.
it also makes you a little confused, okay? That's all right. But we expect another amazing story tomorrow, okay?
Yes.
After my nap.
Okay, you got it.